What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Comic Chaser, my weekly comic review series. So, first things first, we gotta start off a little sad. I want to personally dedicate this episode of Comic Chaser to the late, great Peter David, because yesterday, as of the recording of this video, I found out that Peter David had recently passed away. He was 68, and he had been suffering from health complications due to several strokes and a bunch of other stuff. You know, I tried to help, donate to the GoFundMe and all that stuff. Peter David, if you guys aren't aware, but if you're watching a comic book review show, I'm sure you probably are. He is a legendary comic writer. He's got one of the most seminal Hulk runs of all time. He had a very long stint on X Factor, which I thought was great. And also, he was the creator of Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099. So, he has made some massive contributions to the greater Marvel Universe. He also made the Young Justice comics as well. If you guys don't know that, everybody loves the Young Justice TV show. Peter David was responsible for the original Young Justice comics. So, he has contributed to both Marvel and DC. His more notable stuff is definitely on the Marvel side, but Young Justice is amazing. Because obviously Young Justice Graduation led to Jeff Johns' Teen Titans. Peter David, I've only met him, I think, twice at various conventions, but both times were really great. He was almost like a walking encyclopedia. He knew so much information, and he had so many interesting stories. I wish I had gotten a chance to really sit down and pick his brain. I didn't want to hold up his line, so I didn't want to just yap with him forever, even though I could kill time for hours just kind of learning more about the process. Because this dude was just such a masterful writer in terms of especially character writing, and he was also just really good with humor. People forget how funny some of those Hulk books were, in the 80s and 90s, man. I wasn't alive for those, but I picked those up retroactively from back issue bins and stuff, and man, his Hulk run is great. Rest in peace, Peter David. You will be missed. Absolute legend of the comic industry, and gone but not forgotten. So with that in memoriam out of the way, let's go ahead and get started with this week's episode of Comic Chaser. As per usual, if you're unfamiliar with how the show works, I kind of organize my reviews in a countdown style, where I start with the book not the book that I disliked, but the book that was just okay. Enjoyed the least, but not in a bad way. It's more this was good. It's if it's still in my pile, that means I still enjoyed it, because otherwise I would have dropped it. But top of the pile doesn't always mean bad. It's just if anything, it means that this week was really good, and we've got 9 comics in this week's pile, so this is going to be another long episode. So be sure to grab a snack, a nice drink, sit back, relax, and listen to me yap about all these comics. So let's go ahead and get started with Daredevil Unleash Hell, issue number 5. I got the red band version. This is written by Erica Schultz, with art by Valentina Panetti, and I apologize if I mispronounced your name. This is the final issue of this miniseries, with basically Elektra's Daredevil versus Muse in Hell. Not bad. I don't know where this cough came from. Daredevil versus Elektra's Muse in Hell. Of course, she teams up with the writer to help with this. And this issue, they basically save Morgan, the unwitting apprentice of Muse, from being fully taken over and walking down that dark path permanently. And a lot of it is Elektra trying to help Morgan realize that, like, you know, we've all made mistakes, we've also done some dark things, but you don't need to let that define you. It's a big part of Elektra's character. And by the end of it, she actually reabsorbs Electro, which is all of the, like, kind of the guilt, the evil, and the violence within her. So, like, I wonder if that's going to lead into anything further. I love Elektra. I think making her Daredevil was such a good move, and I can't wait to read any more with her in it. Like, I'm sad that there isn't a Daredevil ongoing with her, because I'm not really digging Solid Ahmed's Daredevil personally with Matt, so I would like to get my Daredevil fix from somewhere, and Electro seems like a great case to do it. Also, there's that 3-issue miniseries Daredevil Cold Day in Hell, which I think comes out next week, which I'm excited to read more of. But yeah, this was a really fun ride, and I can't wait to see more. Honestly, reading this book made me really interested in checking out Erica Schultz's Laura Kinney Wolverine series, because I love Laura as a character, and it has kind of a similar vibe from what I could tell, so I might be checking that out, who knows? But I really did enjoy this series overall, and I think it ended on a really good note. Alright, next up, we have New Gods, issue number 6. Written by Ram V and art by Evan Cagle. Run, run, death is the black racer. So this one, like, I'm not gonna lie, really went over my head. This was very esoteric and high concept, kind of exploring what happens with the death of the god, and also a little bit of the origins of Light Ray's kind of friendship with the Black Racer, different things like that. How Light Ray was able to help open the portal for the New Genesis, the people of New Genesis to get to Earth. Escaping their war with the Necrotani, I think is what they're called. I apologize. Again, a lot of this is going over my head, but, like, it's still very, very interesting. And, man, the art is beautiful. It's, like, almost this, like, ethereal watercolor type thing going on. And it's awesome. I do also like that this issue actually does involve the Justice League more, because we were promised, a little bit more Justice League involvement, and I thought that was cool. So, I'm wondering to see where this goes now that the New Gods have had to, experience an exodus, using biblical terms, since a lot of this has a lot of parallels to the Bible and, like, Old Testament and stuff. So, curious to see how this goes. What is the role of this new godchild, this sealed away weapon? Will they be able to bring their civilization back? Will they just have to learn to cohabitate on Earth? Like, almost like a Broxton, Oklahoma situation, if you remember reading the Thor comics. Who knows? Very curious. This series is still really good. But, like, this one was so, like, high concept, it definitely flew over my head a little bit. I might have to read this, like, a second or third time to really have this sink in. But I thought this was awesome. Alright, another book that I really enjoyed here. Speaking of the late great Peter David and the Hulk creator of Babylon 5, J. Michael Straczynski, presents Hulk and Strange. He's been doing these, like, almost Marvel 2-in-1 type books, where, like, there are two different stories. The main one featuring, of course, the Hulk and Strange, and the backup story featuring one of the most unlikely but fun team-ups I've ever seen, Agatha Harkness and Aunt May. It was Agatha all along. But let's go ahead and talk about both stories, because both are really fun. Hulk and Strange, basically, Bruce comes to Steven to basically help him try to figure out what why he as a Hulk is this like big rage monster as opposed to every other gamma irradiated person in the Marvel universe being able to keep their personality intact. You know, Jen, Blonsky, Betty, Amadeus, Rick, Ross, all of them. But Bruce, for some reason, is not able to keep his personality intact. Now, obviously, Steven's like, well, I'm not going to just send you back in time. We're not going to fuck with the time stream like that. But I can astral project your spirit back in time so you won't be able to interfere, but you'll be able to watch everything and also hear the thoughts of everyone and stuff like that. And basically, it comes down to the fact that, which I really like this kind of conclusion, that Hulk is kind of a symbol of kind of raging against death, refusing to die, the power and strength of life. Which is super interesting, especially when you consider stuff that Al Ewing introduced, like the one below all, which is the what happens when the one above all hulks out and stuff. Again, really interesting stuff, and I think it's a really good character study of Bruce as a person, and like it makes it much more interesting than like a split personality of the like more childlike self of Bruce that resulted from the repeated abuse from his terrible, terrible father, Brian Banner. But again, super interesting characterization, and also pretty funny banter between Strange and Wong and Bruce. And the story that I had a lot of fun with, if you want to talk about fun, is Aunt May and Agatha Harkness, because basically Aunt May and her friend are at a book club meeting with Agatha Harkness. They're reading a Stephen King novel, and then one of the old ladies starts to read an incantation. Turns out they're from the Salem 7. They invoke Yog-Sothoth, which is one of the elder gods, if you know, like Cthulhu and all that stuff. Yog-Sothoth is the gate. And so they start summoning a bunch of, like, elder gods and old ones. Like, all these eldritch demons come through the portal. All the other old ladies are scared running away, but not Aunt May, because Parkers don't run away from people in trouble. So Aunt May decides to back Agatha Harkness up. At first she's using a butter knife, and then she finds a sword in Agatha's room, starts wielding a sword, kicking ass and taking names. And, eventually Agatha gets things under control. And she's like, May, thank you. You really helped me out there. Is there anything I can do for you? And it's like, well, yes, actually. My nephew Peter will be here in a bit. And he's just so fragile. I don't think he could take it if he found out, what I was up to here. And I love that. I think that's hilarious that both Pete and May have this image of each other, of these, like, fragile, frail, like, weak-willed people, but they're actually both really strong, like, very much like a stand-up people, and you could see where Pete gets it from. Because, Aunt May is more than just his moral compass. It was just very much a moral foundation. It makes sense that his, like, need to stand up for the little guy and stand up for what's right, he got that from just as much from Aunt May as he did from Uncle Ben, and I thought that was really cool. Again, super fun story. I enjoyed this. I had a blast. Great little one-shot. Next up, we have the continuation of the Scarlet Witch series by Steve Orlando, which is, of course, Vision and Scarlet Witch, issue number 1. Also, I love that we brought the corner box back. I always used to love the corner box as a kid. These are really cool. Marvel, bring this back. I love these. It's such a quintessential kind of Marvel design that I really miss. This was really good. Essentially, the previous Scarlet Witch series ends with these random doors popping up, very similar to Wanda's door of... I don't remember what she calls the door, but basically, the door in her shop opens up to anybody in need that basically needs a problem solved, and like they walk through the door, they end up at Wanda's shop, and Wanda helps them with their problem. But the doors that open up here are like death's doors, basically. And they're being called to and beckoned by their lost loved ones and, different people with unfinished business. And this is low-key a sequel to Tom King's Vision miniseries. If you haven't read it, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's really good, and you'll definitely need this context to read this series. You don't need to have read the previous Scarlet Witch volumes, even though this is technically just a new volume of Scarlet Witch, so you should still read it. And by the way, those Scarlet Witch volumes are very good and very fun, so still highly recommend it. But basically, we find out at the very end of this that the Grim Reaper, who was previously killed by Vision's wife Virginia in the Vision miniseries, has returned, because of course the Grim Reaper is the Master of Death, and now he's created this whole situation with the Death's Doors, and Wanda and Vision have to deal with it. He manages to quote-unquote kill Vision, but Wanda refuses to let her ex-husband die, and so that is why he has returned as White Vision, and we'll see what the consequences and aftermath of that will be next month in the Vision of and Scarlet Witch. Dun dun dun! Overall, really good setup, and I can't wait to see more of this. I love what Steve Orlando does with Scarlet Witch, so I will always read anything Scarlet Witch with Steve Orlando's name on it. And the art is also fantastic as well, so definitely check this one out if you are a fan of Scarlet Witch and have been keeping up with the various volumes that have been coming out with Scarlet Witch. The first 2 volumes, and then Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch, and then the most recent volume that wrapped up, I think, with issue 10, either 10 or 12. I don't know how long this is going to be, but I will be here for the long haul, because again, I enjoy everything Scarlet Witch that Steve Orlando writes. He has a really good voice for this character, and as a Wanda fan, I really enjoy it. Alright, next up we have Absolute Flash, issue number 3, written by Jeff Lemire, I think art by Nick Robles. And this is awesome. We get the introduction of Grodd in this, and Grodd is basically going to be Wally's partner in... I was about to say partner in crime, but more partner in heroism. Essentially, they bond, and they kind of form this, psychic connection. They can understand each other, and, understand each other's, different losses. And now, Wally, instead of just kind of running in fear, he's starting to embrace his destiny, more or less. And the issue ends with him fully putting on the Flash costume and, starting to do his thing. I skipped over a lot in terms of summary because I know usually I spoil these fully, but there's so much that happens that I think is so interesting that I don't want to ruin the experience for you guys. More development on the rogues and that whole situation. And this series had a lot of potential for some cool shit in it, and I cannot wait to see where this goes, especially with how they play with time and the different timeline possibilities. I think it's really cool. I can't wait to see more of this. Absolute Flash is definitely, running on all cylinders. Let's go, Wally. Really enjoy this book. Another book that was really good, but also kind of really complicated to explain, is Fantastic Four, issue number 32, the penultimate issue of this run of Fantastic Four, because this run will come to an end at issue 33, and then basically have a relaunch at number 1 in July, because, the movie's coming out, but Ryan North will still be on it, so, the creative team will still be intact, but we'll have Humberto Ramos on art, who, if you don't know Humberto Ramos was a long-time artist on Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man run, and I really like his art, and he draws Fantastic Four really well, so I'm super excited for this. But this was really interesting. This was another Fantastic One story, and it centered on Valeria, and basically, with all the time travel shenanigans that were going on, we find out the aftermath of this, and essentially, it's almost like a quantum leap type story, where Val's consciousness gets transferred into her timeline counterpart, which is Mary Richards, the daughter of Reed Richards and Susan Storm in this timeline. And we find out that, Franklin showed up earlier because, of course, Franklin is her older brother. But because Franklin consciousness transferred over, so did his powers. But this Franklin was raised by normal Reed and Sue, so they were really unequipped to handle a child with nigh godlike abilities. And so Franklin basically approached everything with kind of a child easy answer type solutions, and it turned this world into this really terrifying dystopia where everybody is these lobotomized, mind-wipe, happy zombies, and there's this underground resistance of people who are hiding from Franklin, led by Jean and Namor. And Jean and Namor dating is super weird for me. That threw me off. Jean's not a blonde. I definitely expected Emma Frost to be here, but it is what it is. I guess good for you for expanding your taste, Namor. But yeah, this was really cool because this is really kind of seeing Val flex her muscles. Her biggest muscle being her brain, of course. Being the daughter of Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, she's, super intelligent, possibly even smarter than her father, which I thought was really cool. And she figured out a way to kind of fix this timeline and write this Franklin out of existence. But one thing that I really love about this is the heart and kind of family spirit that North always has injected throughout his entire run. Because the moment where she hugs this version of Franklin and apologizes, and she's like, "I'm sorry, none of this was your fault. I wish you could have been the you that you were meant to be. I know that version of you and I love him, but you are not my brother, so you shouldn't exist. I'm sorry." It was really beautiful and really sweet, but also shows the colder side of Valeria. A bit of her, a bit of those lessons she took from her Uncle Victor, which makes her such an interesting character, right? She has the best parts of not only the Fantastic Four, but Doctor Doom as well. So, it makes her really cool. I honestly would love to see, more of Val's character development. I think she's a really interesting character. I mean, we even see a lot of that in the One World Under Doom issue couple months ago, where it just focused on Doom trying to convince Valeria that what he's doing is right. So I thought that was dope. This issue was really good, and it led to Val basically figuring out how they can restore the FF's powers, and they're going to have to return to the dawn of time, which is going to be really cool. I cannot wait to see how this run ends. It's going to definitely end with a bang, and I can't wait to see what North has cooked up for the upcoming run, which once again looks like a more episodic, exploring space and different worlds adventure series, which I'm totally for, because honestly, that's where the Fantastic Four are at their best. So, definitely excited for that. And once again, I cannot recommend this book enough. You guys, if you haven't had a chance and you only picked up Fantastic Four for the One World Under Doom tie-ins, you should go back and read Ryan North's Fantastic Four. It's pretty amazing. Fantastic, even. Alright, next up, we have Zatanna, issue number 4. This is written and drawn by Jamal Campbell. And basically, this is kind of the climax of this Lady White Brother Death arc, where they have this, like, they put this curse with this sword trapped inside Zatanna that's been messing with her magic, and we find out that the sword itself was a misdirect, and so Zatanna, teaming up with her old crew, basically, goes in, guns a-blazing, saves, to save the Blue Devil, and, of course, the spirit of her former assistant, Adam, who was murdered by, the Lady White. And, like, at the very end, there's just this really dope image of kind of her pulling out the sword, and she goes, no matter what. And at the very end is that, like, a backward speech panel, her casting a spell, I will escape, which is really dope. And I don't know, man, this book is beautiful. I love the kind of, like, storybook framing device, almost fairy tale like whimsy that this book presents, but also just kind of still how terrifying this could be. Not just regular fairy tales, like a grim fairy tales type of fairy tale where shit gets really fucked up in here. And man, this is good. Zatanna is in some harrowing situations in this with her friends, and like, I'm at the edge of my seat the whole time. Jamal Campbell absolutely kills this. I have so much fun with this book. Zatanna's great. Absolutely love it. If you are a fan of the Mistress of Magic, you definitely need to pick this up. It is absolutely amazing. Now, another book that really blew my mind this week was Ultimate, issue number 12. Written by Dennis Camp and art by Juan Frigeri. Oh my goodness, you guys. This book basically, like, subverts my least favorite trope of all time in literature, which is, like, the miscommunication trope, where, somebody throws a fit over somebody keeping a secret, and instead of just talking it out and solving the issue, they get into a big fight. And I was expecting a big fight this whole time, because, Tony confronts Doom about, why he rescued them at that moment, why he waited for that moment, and Doom explains, like, that yes, he did tamper with time, but he did it to save their lives. You're welcome, by the way. I love that this version of Reed very much has that, like, Doctor Doom style arrogance. It's really interesting, but he has this, like, single-minded determination to just bring his family back, and that is the Reed Richards we all know and love. I need my family. My family not only makes me a better place, but it makes the world a better place. That's what we need to do. We need to fix the world. And I love this. Instead of just, like, having a big fight about it, like, oh no, Doom, you lied to us, how could you do that? Tony's like, okay, cool, let's figure this out. I didn't come here to put you on trial. I came here so we could talk it out, be on the same page, so we could try and fix this together. And then eventually they're like, alright. So Cap brings up, okay, so if one person leading and making all the decisions is what's been fucking us up, let's all kind of pool together our ideas and perspectives and try to figure this out together. Increase our outreach, try and help the world, try and give them something to fight for, be a symbol, fix the world, avenge it even. Avenge the world that was. This was not a line that was there, but that was the vibe I got from this, and I absolutely loved it. Like, they used their words, which is something I haven't seen in a while in comic books, and I really appreciate that we didn't have to get into a superhero fight in order for people to see sense. They actually sat here and had a conversation like adults, which was great. And then, which feels like a really huge turning point for this team in this series, which I'll be honest with you, I felt like it has kind of been spinning its wheels for a bit. Like, I've enjoyed these, like, one-shot, like, world-building adventures, but, like, it felt like the team itself wasn't really going anywhere, but now it feels like this team is starting to build momentum and has a solid direction now, and I'm locked in, man. I'm fully locked in to the Ultimates. But man, why did it have to be who it had to be with the traitor? I love this character, and this character got done dirty in the original Ultimate series, so I hope they're not done dirty here as well. Fingers crossed. I will not spoil who the traitor is. You're going to have to read to find out. I know I usually spoil everything, but you'll have to read this one to find out who the traitor is. And I gotta say, I'm just sad about it. I'm just sad. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they'll realize that Fury is full of shit, and they will, like, triple cross and betray the Maker's Illuminati to help the Ultimates out. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Alright, what is my book of the week this week? Well, it is none other than Superman Unlimited, issue number 1. Written by Dan Slott with art by Raphael Albuquerque. Raphael Albuquerque of American Vampire fame, by the way. I love American Vampire. That's one of my favorite Scott Snyder books. So, when I heard Dan Slott, one of my favorite writers, is teaming up with Raphael Albuquerque, I was like, oh, I am down for this. And I gotta say, man, Dan Slott has a much better voice for Superman than Brian Michael Bendis did. Listen, Mr. Bendis, Brian, I love you. I think you're really cool. You're a really cool person. But it didn't feel like you really got Superman for real, man. Like, but this felt like Superman. This felt like this, ray of hope, truth, and justice. And, like, this undying determination. I loved the framing device of this. Even though we knew Clark wasn't going to die in the first issue, it was such a good way of telling his origin and who Superman is as a character, with literally having his life flash before his eyes. So good. It's such a good framing device, and the art is just absolutely phenomenal, and you really get to have a good sense of who Clark is, what makes Clark who he is, and why he does what he does. But essentially, a huge meteorite crashes into the area, giving the world like a new massive influx of green K, green kryptonite. And so now it changes the entire world. Kryptonite has become like a commonplace metal now. That means every bad guy and their mom will be able to get a hold of it. It's not just Lex Luthor and just a small handful of people like Intergang and stuff. So that's going to be really interesting. I'm very curious to see if that actually affects Joshua Williamson's Superman. I don't read mainline Superman, so somebody in the comments, please tell me, after this book comes out, does the whole, state of kryptonite being everywhere also affect the mainline Superman? Very curious. And also, are his new powers or new state of being reflected in this? Because, now he's, golden? He almost looks like, how he looked in DC 1 Million, where he was, all gold and stuff? That's what it looked like at the very end here. And I'm wondering what this power is. Why did he not die? There's no way he could have, an immunity to kryptonite now. It has to still affect him, but does it affect him in different ways? I have so many questions. I'm definitely intrigued. I want to see where this, where this new status quo puts Superman. And again, Dan Slott just has a really strong voice for Clark as a character. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes. I think Dan Slott did a great job with this first issue, in my opinion, and that's why Superman Unlimited issue number 1 is my book of the week. Alright, folks, that has this has been an episode of Comic Chaser. Wow, it's another huge one. I should have known better when I saw that the last episode was only 15 minutes, that this one was gonna be, double that length. Once again, fantastic week of books. Everything was super solid, up to like mind-blowingly good. Like, some of the writing in Superman Unlimited damn near had me in tears, man. Even though, again, I knew Clark wasn't going to die, but the speech, it hit, man. It really hit. I think this is awesome, especially it's a great build-up for new readers to really understand who Superman is before going into James Gunn's new Superman movie, which I'm really looking forward to. Man, I cannot wait to see more of this. And once again, I want to dedicate this episode to the late great Peter David. Rest in peace, legend of the industry. You will be missed. In the comments down below, tell me some of your favorite Peter David stories, as well as what you thought about the different comics that came out this week. Let me know all your thoughts and feels in the comments down below. Don't forget to do all the usual YouTube things. Leave this video a like, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any brand new episodes of Comic Chaser or any brand new episodes of the Channel Chasers podcast. This week we just put out our Thunderbolts episode, so if you were curious to find out what my friend and I thought about Marvel's new MCU release, definitely check that episode out to hear our thoughts. You'll see that in the card coming up in a few seconds, so definitely check that out. But until next time, I will catch you guys later. Peace.